I am here now with the CEO, the founder of Overnght with no I. No I in this Overnght. It's Kevin McReynolds. Kevin, great to be with you.
Great to be here.
I'm so excited to learn all about Overnght, but let's first talk about your background because,
Absolutely.
as a defensive tackle, I mean, we could see, it's clear to everybody at home, there's one defensive tackle here in this shot. You were a defensive tackle at UCLA, played a year at UNR, but you're applying a lot of these great qualities that you learn as a student athlete. You're applying it to being an entrepreneur and now getting into the sports streaming space. So tell us, what have you learned from being a student athlete and how is it helping you create this new great concept Overnght?
Well, one, thanks for having me here. I think a lot of the things that I look at from a student athlete perspective and bringing this down to the business world is pretty clear, right? From one, it's looking at obviously the work ethic of showing up early, right? Being on time, those relationships and understanding those things. But I think outside of that is more so of just understanding that you got to be uncomfortable. You got to be comfortable with the uncomfortable. And I think that's the biggest thing, right? If you're not uncomfortable, when you're facing these bigger tasks, then you'll be fine and you'll just conquer them. I
love what you're doing with this Overnght concept. So, let's break this down. You have already got a lot of great sports streaming on this platform.
Absolutely.
If you go right now. You got artistic swimming, you got fencing, gymnastics, rowing, swimming and diving, water polo. You even just did a 5-year agreement with the USA Water Polo Association. So tell us a little bit about what your game plan is. What hole in the market you guys are really filling?
So we're really covering that niche market, right? Those sports that are not the football and basketballs of the world, but everything else, right? They have tons of viewership as well. Their parents and grandparents want to watch that content. There's dedicated followings, and from our standpoint is we're taking those sports and we're putting them on one platform so that everyone has a chance to watch and consume the content that they want.
And right now, I mean, you're saying you're getting even a lot of viewership in, overseas.
Absolutely.
Because one of the things that we deal with, we were talking about this a little earlier before the interview, is the blackouts. Blackouts cause issues for even the major sports franchises.
Absolutely.
The Big Four. So you guys are really avoiding a lot of that.
Yeah, absolutely. So we're in 18 countries around the world. Our second biggest audience right now is in Spain, and then our third biggest is in Australia. Like even last week, we did a 3-game series with Team USA in water polo, where Australia came to the U.S. We covered 3 games for them, and then the week after that, we did USA versus China, and we were streaming that all over the world.
And what do you see as the future for Overnght? What does the future look for you guys?
Well, the future looks like there's several other sports out there that we want to go into, right? But I think from our standpoint, it's continuously to innovate in ways to open and make the sports more accessible. I think it's one. 2, it's continuing to support those athletes as well. That they're not. It's not football. It's not basketball right now. But I still believe that those athletes are doing tremendous things, and a lot of them go on to win Olympic medals for the U.S. and other countries around the world. And I think those things are really important. But I also think it's creating opportunities as well. I think from our perspective, when I look at these things, is I want to be able to provide athletes with a chance to be successful when they're off the field as well, or off the court or field or swimming pool. It doesn't really matter.
Right.
We want to be able to provide those things for them.
Okay, and I also love this, because I love your personal story as well. You were a 4-star recruit out of high school, coming
Absolutely.
from the DC area.
Yep.
You go to UCLA, defensive tackle, especially in today's NFL, a guy like you in that 3 technique,
Yep.
who's a little undersized, who can go up against, defensive tackles, guards, tackles, all that kind of stuff. You would have a lot of promise potentially at the next level, but you have a great relationship with the great legendary head coach Ron Rivera and his
Yep.
wife, and he told you something in a private conversation. I think that would be a great thing for you to share with our audience, because
Yep.
it really speaks to the type of person you are, but how you're going to translate that success and that honesty that you had in your playing career to now the business world.
Well, I think when I was done towards the end of my career at UCLA and even Nevada, when I was done, there was a conversation that I had with him where he sat me down and I kind of asked a couple questions. I was like, hey, what do you think my chances are of playing in the NFL? And, being the person that he is, one, I respect him for having the conversation. He's an incredible human being. But what Coach Rivera told me was, hey, Kev, at most you're going to go play in the league for a couple of years and then you won't make it to pension. But I think, you're one of those guys that are going to be far more successful off the field. And he was 100% correct, right? I think that by the tools that I have and from football and from sports in general, I think what we've been able to create here at Overnght and from what I've been able to do already at this point. I mean, I was able to sell a company in my last startup. You know, we sold that in 2021. It was the largest meme company in the world. And I ran business development there, and we were able to be really successful. And then that led me into doing some consulting and then eventually leading into Overnght. So Coach was completely correct in that and saying that, hey, if you do the right things now and you continue to build off the field and learn and take those tools, you're going to be successful later on in life. And he was absolutely correct.
I love that. Last question for you. Actually, two last things. One, Overnght, how did the name come about?
So when we started the company, I wanted to find a name that I felt really resonated with people, right? And content, if it goes more than 12 to 24 hours, people no longer care about it, right? And from a news perspective, anything you want, the last two frontiers is news and sports. Those are the only two things you can't get on demand, right? That you have to sit down and you have to watch those things live. And I think that was a big part of the name of Overnght. And then secondly, why there's no I in it.
There's no I in team, is that why?
No, not at all. It's when we went to go trademark it, we couldn't get we met with some lawyers and we couldn't get the I in Overnght because it's such a common use word. So we were able to switch that up.
You can steal my thought for that. Just tell people, yeah, there's no I in team.
Yeah, there's no I in team. I should really stick with that. I think that one will be better.
You can take that from me. And where can people find you guys? Tell us how we can engage with Overnght.
Absolutely. So you can find us on social media at Overnght, no I, on Instagram. And then you can also find us on our own platform at Overnght.com, no I in that, and then our app is on the App Store as well on iOS.
All right, Kevin McReynolds,
thank you so much. I really appreciate it.